12 people are expected to appear in the Pretoria Magistrates Court on charges of fraud and theft related to an international cybercrime syndicate this morning. The international syndicate was exposed last week, with 12 people arrested on South African soil and another 10 in the United States and Canada. The arrests came after a joint operation between the Hawks Crime Intelligence South African and the South African Tactical Response Team and the Department of Home Affairs, in conjunction with Interpol, the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement and Homeland Security investigations. Today, we are joined by the country manager of StarLink, an IT security advisor and value-added distributor, Wayne Donnelly. Good morning to you.
Morning.
And then a man who needs no introduction, Bernard Hotz, who's the head of Worksman's Business Crime and Forensics Practice. Good morning to you, Bernard. Always nice to have you with us.
Good morning. Thank you, Evan.
Wayne, if I can start with you, seeing that you have the wider jurisdiction, as it were.
Yeah.
Are we living in a time on the African continent where it's a little bit like the Wild West was in America as far as cybercrime and the internet is concerned?
Very much so, and I'd go as far as saying that the Wild West and beyond. And when you look at that, the connotation is lawlessness, anything goes, any mechanism, any route, any alliance, any relationship that can be used to proliferate and perpetrate cybercrime is all at hand. And, you know, it's trying to keep a grip and a handle on it. More importantly, it's around trying to have visibility of exactly what is going on. And that's the largest challenge facing us, is from companies to individuals, because of the nature and the global scale of this, is to actually have visibility of what's happening inside an organization. Are you a victim or are you not? Are you being targeted?
Yeah.
Is there breaches? So very, very much so. It's a Wild West war being fought at the moment.
Seems like we're losing it a little bit, Bernard, at the moment. But tell us your experience in practice. How does it play out in the South African scenario for you?
Even I think what's encouraging in this instance is if we look at a legislative framework, we have great legislation which prohibits exactly what's happening. And why I'm encouraged by this is, for once, you're seeing a joint operation with law enforcement agencies around the world, and they down, and they're not leaving the perpetrators here. They're saying, we're taking you to the US, bearing in mind that the complaint initiated in the US, and these people are going to be tried in a US court, and hopefully they will all enjoy company for many years to come in a prison cell.
Absolutely, because the damage that's been done is immense. I wanted to ask you about today's case specifically before we move on and talk a little bit a wider way. 12 people arrested, 11 of them Nigerians. Is that a surprise at all?
I think on the African continent, not so much of a surprise. You know, it certainly shows that we've been experiencing a lot of different scams, phishing attacks, fly-by-night operations. And, you know, without any prejudice, the majority of it does come out of Nigeria. There's a high level of sophistication. They are highly funded. But it's not just Nigeria itself. You know, so if you compare that globally, every single country from third world organizations, third world countries, all the way through to the larger players on the African continent, have got the same type of hackers per se. Hackers, relatively an old term that's used now, more of a cyber criminal type activity. But bearing in mind, these type of statistics here are really just showing the reported statistics, the ones that we're aware of. And so whilst it shows Nigeria clearly as the largest nation, you may find South Africa being the second or the third largest that's out there. But definitely no surprise from Nigeria. I mean, they have relationships across multiple regions globally.
Bernard, now you're in South Africa. What is the type of cybercrime that you come across in your practice the most, and how does it affect them?
Won the lottery, 250,000 rand, click in here, or alternatively you're on your computer screen. People sometimes don't pay enough access. They use the word access. It's unlawful to access somebody else's data if you're not entitled to do so. The moment you do
and the challenge that we've had is there's one level of uneducated users per se that would truly buy into this and click on it. The scarier part is that it's probably one of the most sophisticated tools available in the arsenal for cyber criminals.
Yeah.
And that's influenced by social media.
Yeah.
So from an organizational perspective, and an individual working within an organization, I have a wealth of knowledge. I know everything about you, your likes, your hobbies, where you work, who your colleagues are. I know what topics you talk about. That allows me to create a very specific, very targeted campaign or attack against you. That even if you were aware of security side, you've been drummed in, don't click on links, don't share information, I can masquerade as someone that you truly, truly know and will know things about you that you believe other people don't.
Yeah.
Therefore, it has to be authentic. And this is the level that it's actually taken it to. And it's probably phishing and farming are the two largest tools that are used to try and extract information. That's the information that then gets used to grow larger schemes.
At the same, I suppose, here you see that social media leaves people increasingly vulnerable across borders, really.
Getting to know somebody, forging a relationship with somebody, and then taking advantage of that relationship and say, would you mind sending this parcel through to another destination?
Yeah.
So it's absolutely, the criminal behind it is a very educated, faceless criminal. Very sophisticated. And it's all about getting into you so that you can be used as a mechanism to commit a crime.
You talk about this sophisticated criminal. Give us the broad strokes. What does this individual look like in real life? Is he a father of two that's married and works from his garage?
Well, this is the challenge that's facing international organizations, is it's almost impossible to profile the cyber criminal. He could be anything from the 12, 13-year-old that's sitting at home behind a computer, and, you know, he would typically do farming-type activities, extracting information, malicious damage, you know, a lot of showing off around hacking, all the way through to top PhD graduates that understand the intricacies of encryption, of security solutions, how to bypass them, through to managers and organizations, invested shareholders, invested stakeholders. And it's across the board. So male, female, it doesn't really matter. The age category is irrelevant at this.
Yeah.
What is important is that when we start playing into the corporate space and enterprise cybercrime, there, what the sort of more juvenile type hackers don't have, they are highly funded. And the reason for this is not just around, you know, there are many reasons for cybercrime. So I mean, if you look at what cybercrime is...
Do we have a scenario where there's a growing business on business type of cybercrime going on globally?
It's more than a growing business. It is now a fully fledged international industry that is operating. And if you look at some of the more recent statistics, cybercrime has overtaken drug trafficking in terms of revenue generated. You know, literally we talk about, you know, once you're connected to the internet, within 4 seconds, potentially you're exposed. It's overtaken from a revenue generation for cybercrime syndicates, more revenue than many countries, third world countries, complete GDP. So this is now across the board, from highly funded, highly sophisticated, access to the latest technologies with reaches globally.
It's a real network that's out there. Let's conclude this with giving people a little bit of hope, because it sounds a little bit hopeless. If you've got a business, how do you protect yourself? And then if you're an individual, how do you go about protecting yourself? And what are your rights in this country? Let's start with you.
So there are just a few key points on that. First and foremost is awareness. It will always start with educating the end user, educating an organization and a company around the basic flows, trends, things to look for. Secondly, there are solutions in place. There are methodologies in place. From a cybersecurity perspective, we talk about a defense in depth approach. And again, it's not just having one line of defense, but multiple lines of defense. And what's critical to that is, historically, everyone has been reactive, and it's been a preventative type thing. The reality is, there is no more prevention. You know, if you've not yet been breached, at least they have visibility. So as an organization, an individual, your key way of combating that is to have actionable, intelligent visibility of what the nature of your network is and your infrastructure. So as the crimes being committed, or if there are anomalies, you immediately see that straight off the bat and allows you to act on it.
Yeah.
And these solutions are available. Companies are moving towards this strategic approach, and that's encouraging. We've certainly seen that upswing in the last 2 years.
It's what you talk about, that all-inclusive approach. Everyone's got to chip in, but as an individual, it's not always that easy, is it?
I think, Eben, the two issues are firstly being proactive and awareness, and second of all, for there to be a commitment from law enforcement. And as we've seen, this is multi-jurisdictional.
Yeah.
The people who are perpetrating these crimes are multi-jurisdictional, so we need a commitment from law enforcement around the world to cooperate and do precisely this.
Yeah. Well, 12 people arrested in South Africa and another 10 in the United States and Canada. So it looks like we're heading in the right direction, but I'm sure Wayne will tell us, yeah, you need to arrest another 10,000, I suppose.
Well, yeah, this is going into the hundreds of thousands globally.
Well, it's a difficult one. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you,
Cybercrime on the rise on the African continent, around the world. Protect yourself and protect your business, and find out what you can do. Bernard Hotz from Worksman's Attorneys, and then from StarLink, I've got Wayne Donnelly this morning. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much, Evan.